Hey everybody, Thomas Vanderkin here from the Vanderkinverse and founder of Autism Staffing Group. Super excited. I've got Ryan Casey here with me, founder of ClearWeave Careers. So, hey Ryan, thanks for
Hey,
joining.
Thomas. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so anybody who's listening, as you start to find it, please post your comments or at least even just let us know in the comments you're here. We'd love to hear where you're listening from and get any thoughts you have on our discussion. So, this will be posted and people will start watching it after the fact. So let's go ahead and get started, Ryan. First of all, can you just tell us a little bit about ClearWeave Careers?
Yeah, we're a company that helps people on the autism spectrum find employment. We have clients in several states. We're based in Connecticut. We work on helping people with their resume, with interview skills, and build them up career-wise, but also help find the jobs for them. So we go out and we seek out the jobs, and then we secure them and get real-world employment.
So I did a little background check. I watched your public public TV interview that you linked to on your LinkedIn page. It was really inspiring.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you? I think you've been doing this for 15 years, how you got started with ClearWeave and why you decided to help people with autism find employment.
Yeah. So I started at an agency on the ground floor. I was kind of in between jobs, and I said, I'm going to try this out. I was attaining my master's in communication, which is a semi-related field, not the field of psych. But so I tried this out at an agency that worked for the state of Connecticut, and I just fell in love with helping people, being on the ground floor, just helping them navigate the world, getting them through their lives, whether it be going to the grocery store, getting their laundry, you're running errands, and then you work on those fundamentals, and then you kind of advance. Now, I was taking my clients to doctor's appointments, and the doctor saw that I cared a great deal, a real lot, and they said, Ryan, you're hitting out of the park. Why don't you start your own company? Or take clients independently. I found out I could start my own company for this. Fast forward 10 years, we're going on a decade of ClearWeave Careers being in existence. And we're just really happy where we're at, because we started off as mentoring general. And then, even 15 years ago when I got into the business, I realized that employment was such an essential part of autism support and making their lives successful as populations more successful. So, I really honed in, really focused on the employment piece, and we develop strategies for employment, and we look at it every day, how we can improve that and get more jobs for people on the spectrum.
So last week on the show I had Eric Jason. But he thought language is really important. So he's helping autistic people really develop habits and skills in exercise and to make sure they're living a healthy, physically healthy lifestyle. So
Mhm.
he likes to call the people he works with the athletes. He thinks that's the best word,
Oh,
really
that's excellent. Yeah.
describe wherever they are, whatever their capabilities, use the word athlete. So what do you call your clients, and what do you call yourself? What's the relationship between your company and the people you're with autism you're helping?
Well, I find it's a fluid language. I try to stay on top of all the parlance, and I try to make sure that I read all the science too, which I do keep myself apprised of. So currently, I have a lot of clients that like to be called neurodivergent, um, and that's part of a neurodiverse world. When you talk about neurodiversity, obviously that's an inclusive world that includes the neurodiverse and neurotypicals. So whatever each individual likes to be referred to as, I'm fine with that. I think developing these new terms is great. If athletes inspires, I'm all for it. Anything to help
Yeah.
the population. Yeah, it's awesome to hear that. That's an innovative thing. There's so many different uh, components of autism support, and I guess I haven't been so focused on some of the language, but if I ever get more free time, that's something that I would love to engage in, and maybe the community could have some great conversations about that.
Yeah. If anybody's listening, wants to jump in on that topic, put it in the comments, and we'll respond to that.
Yeah, that'd be great to hear feedback on that.
Um, can you give an example of somebody you've helped recently? I saw some on your video, but anything recently that you can share with us?
Yeah, I have two great examples. I'm not sure if we have time to get to both, but I'm gonna throw one out there. The Guggenheim Museum in New York. We got someone hired there. It was 6 months ago. I think my cat's about to make an appearance. So sorry about that. That's Sarah. Okay, so the Guggenheim Museum in New York. We got someone a job there, and we started off in small steps to see if it would be a good fit for all parties, and it was. And just 2 weeks ago, our client got hired full time. So he started it was just a great success story. He started off, the first day was just like a test case, an experiment, so to speak, on a Saturday afternoon at the museum in downtown New York City. Let's see how it works. The client lives in Westchester. He could take the train in, and he doesn't mind doing that. But fast forward 6 months later, all parties are really happy, and he's in the visitor center there. But he's not just taking tickets. He's engaged with the audience there, the patrons, and he helps out in different areas of the museum, and he's interactive, and he knows the events, and he's relaying what the events are to, especially to tourists who come in, and I would assume, we had some discussion about this. People that may not be as familiar with the museum, he's very helpful for that. So that was just a wonderful success story, and he's just out of college, and he wanted to start his career, in the kind of museum space. So the good people at the Guggenheim gave him a shot, and shout out to their HR department. That's how we started the conversation there. And the second kind of story right now that we have is with ASML, American Semiconductor. I know I'm missing a couple terms in that ASML, but ASML.com. They hired one of our clients. They had taken one of our clients had applied, and I think he got kind of an auto reject, just because I'm not sure, if he did anything on his side, but regardless, he got the kind of no. But then I came into the picture. We talked to ASML. We said, hey, can you just take another look at this gentleman? He's a student at Wesleyan, and he's also a Connecticut resident. They have a Connecticut presence in Wilton, Connecticut, and they gave him a shot, and they hired him. So we're definitely making some progress out there.
Yeah. So once people are hired, do you tend to stick with them during the employment, or once they are hired, do you kind of they're on their own then after that, and they just work with the HR at the company?
No, they're not on their own. We always make sure people are off to a great start. We offer support, that the first day, first week, first month, that's such a critical phase. And it really needs a lot of attention, not only from a third party like myself, my company, and our mentors, but also I think the company would do well to realize, to appreciate that it's crucial. And if they have someone on the spectrum, I would advise extra training, or make sure the training's thorough. I think even for neurotypicals, training is sometimes kind of put off to the side and not really paid attention to. But this is a population that appreciates that I found.
Yeah.
And so we are in the background, but we're very accessible and proactive, asking the client how that first week is going. That's super important. So we're there. Yeah.
Yeah. And we do have quite a few people joining. So as you
Oh,
join, check in with us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I've found I've done quite a few of these, and it seems to be a recurring theme is that it's important to develop habits, especially for people with neurodiversity. They need once something's a habit and it's familiar, they're gonna excel at it. But those first few weeks, I can imagine, are really stressful, and they're stressful for everybody, but especially people with autism, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a great point. They're going to do great once they get, over that first onboarding or for even just the hire. But we want to set them up for success. So I just advise that. I suggest it. Um, I've had a lot of clients say to me, before they get hired, am I going to get trained? That's a question I get often. And so
Yeah,
there's some, anxiety behind that, and we try to mitigate that anxiety. So we are in contact with the company, close communication.
yeah. Is it usually the parents or loved ones of the people with autism reaching out to you for support? I'm sure a lot of people watching now. I have an autistic child. That's one thing we want to just make sure that people are successful, and especially our loved ones. Or is it generally your clients themselves reaching out to you, or a combination? Or how do people find ClearWeave?
Yeah, it's a combination. We recently had two people find us just via the Google. That was great, but often I would say about 70% to 80% of the time, it's the doctors that talk to us
Oh, nice.
and reach out. Yeah, on behalf of the clients and their parents. And so we have a lot of close relationships with doctors, especially in the tri-state area. Dr. Eric Hollander in Manhattan is one of them, and we have several others in
Yeah.
Connecticut.
So, um, my company is kind of a traditional staffing company, right? People, I try to find potential employees. In my case specifically, I'm just looking for people with autism, and then the company has to pay me and my company, a finder's fee or a headhunter's fee, whatever you want to call that, for that effort.
Mhm.
But I think you have a really different approach that really is. I was pretty excited to hear about. You want to describe a little bit how ClearWeave works?
Sure. And I just want to note, I can see why you structured your company like that. Whatever works to make a sustainable company, I think is fair. And, I've had some people say, how could you charge a placement fee or how could you charge and is, I think we've all got to figure out a way for small businesses to stay afloat. My way is just kind of the therapist scenario where it's paid by session. So it's the parents pay us per session, per 1 hour per week. And then we are searching for the job. And also, like I mentioned earlier in the program, we are bolstering, strengthening them in their professional life, in their career. So again, resume, interview skills, corporate communication, LinkedIn, how to use LinkedIn, how to network.
That's great. So you mentioned you're in Connecticut, right?
That's right.
There's people all around the world, but certainly all around the country watching this right now. They reach out to you. Can you support somebody in California or Texas? Is that or
Yeah,
just
that's fun. As a matter of fact, we have, I think, 3 clients in California, and yeah, we're connected with companies there. One of the companies we're connected with is HyperObject Industries, which is Adam McKay's company, and he's been helpful. I got to travel out there and meet with Adam, and he has a new COO, so to speak, who was actually, I believe she was a producer on Don't Look Up. But to get back to your question, any state, people can reach out to me,
okay?
email, phone. You can reach out directly to me or have a therapist that you work with connect with me. That's fine as well. We're very accessible. We have a small but very high quality staff, very agile and ready to help anyone anywhere in the United States.
Love it. It seems like there might be some government funding to help support this. Do you get any support from the government to help offset some costs of yours?
We get a bit. We are, vetted. We are a vendor with the state of Connecticut. State of Connecticut does have issues, as with many states, with supporting this population. They have what's called the waiver program here. There's a long wait for the waiver program. I think the best state scenario that we found, the best state support, has been in Westchester. So if you're a resident of Westchester, New York, we have found a way to be funded by the state. I believe it's the Westchester County OPWDD is the entity. I can't guarantee anything, disclaimer on that, but we have gotten paid via, proxy by OPWDD. We're hoping that other states open this up. We're hoping insurance companies pay attention to this because employment is so key. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, yeah, but society is just not caught up yet. And so we hope to see more state funding because currently we just mainly do private pay. We also work for a school system in Connecticut, so we do get some pay. It's just one student right now currently. We've helped other students in different school systems, but we hope to have more state support because it's just very difficult to get the state support.
Yeah. Fantastic. Mohammed's on.
Hey, Mohammed.
Not a question, but he gave a just a kudos here. It's great initiative to make sure autistic workers get their fair chance. Thanks, Mohammed. If you have any questions or anybody else has a question, just pop it in the chat and we'll jump to it. So
that's great to hear. Thanks, Mohammed. You know what? That fair chance is what it's all about. I recently posted on LinkedIn a personal story real quick. When I was young and on the schoolyard, I was, thin and I was not the best player on the schoolyard, and I would get picked last, and I hated that. And but when I was picked during the game, I would do excellent. And I think that's an allegory for people on the spectrum because they just need to be given a chance, like Mohammed said.
And I first of all, I believe that's true. There's some jobs where being on the spectrum and being autistic is going to be a benefit. Whether it's a focus or it's a repetitive nature or whatever the job might be. But also, I'm a big believer in diversity, whether it's racial diversity, gender diversity, but neurodiversity too. Just having a group of people in your company with different backgrounds and will make you a better company inherently. So even all things being equal, it's better to have somebody, several people on the autism spectrum in your company just for the diversity of it. So.
Absolutely. I mean, in addition to it being the right thing to do, I mean, there's so many reasons. And one of the biggest ones that I see is it can improve the environment. When you mentor someone, when you're helping someone along, and especially when it's going to have a great outcome. I mean, it's a win-win and it improves and enlivens the environment.
Yep. Yeah, no, today's International Women's Day. So, we're celebrating which is fantastic. I'm a big proponent of that too, and a advocate. But it's another diversity is neurodiversity, which is what we're talking about. So Mohammed did have a follow-up point. He said, I don't know if you've seen this article from the Harvard Business Review, but it mentioned that autistic professionals up to 140% more productive.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen that metric. That is awesome, Mohammed. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to have to check that one out. I believe it. This is a very loyal population once they get in the workplace, and they're going to hit it out of the park. And that 140 is hitting it out of the park. So I'm glad to see that. Thank you, Mohammed. Yeah.
In a time when we are experiencing record low unemployment, I think we're down under 4 or 5%. We just can't afford not to use every area of our workforce that's available to us. So certainly hiring on the spectrum is critical.
Yeah, this population's underappreciated, and I think especially the C-level people should be looking into ways to tap into this talent source. I've seen a lot of people, unfortunately, on lower levels that may not be as appreciative of it because maybe they're not thinking as strategically. as a C level or someone
Yeah.
up there, and it's unfortunate because it really only takes a little bit of time and energy to make this a successful outcome and tap,
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
this talent force.
Well, that's a great point, and I wanted to bring this up too. Is most companies, big companies at least, and many medium-sized companies have a DEI initiative or a ESG, which is part of their environmental sustainability governance. They want to have diversity as part of that. Um, are are you seeing the words and the proclamations, but you're living it every day? So are you starting to feel that over the last 10 years that the companies are talking the talk, but they're also hiring and they're willing to invest in neurodiversity?
Yeah, I have to say, unfortunately, I think there's a disconnect with the proclamations and the marketing and what is actually being done. And I could tell you, this is not just from me. This is from parents and clients. And I have currently about 35 clients, and probably over the last year about 50. And we just get repetitive feedback regarding this issue. They're not, the companies say one thing, but they're not really real world hiring people on the spectrum as effectively as is needed. I hope that more work is done. There seems to be a disconnect. It seems to be between the C level and the upper echelon and the lower ranks. Trying to figure it out. I do offer a class that helps hiring managers and talent acquisition people with interviewing skills and I also have a fundamentals class. And so I think over time we will make progress, but I am seeing, unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's not working as well as the community would like. I mean, I don't want to speak for the community, but that's what I've seen in my experience.
Yeah, I think it's also, if like, say I'm a hiring manager, I can't tell necessarily by a resume that this person might be neurodivergent. If that's a priority I have, if they don't self-identify, I don't know that I should take that as a factor. So do you think, for those of us who may be neurodivergent, should we be adding that as a bullet or a headline in our resume because some companies do have that as a target? Or is it up to the company? Should they be asking, our during their application process? Or how do companies actually achieve these DEI goals, I guess?
Yeah, it's a tough thing. And of course, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know about all the labor laws. But
Yeah.
yeah, but if you can make it an easy way to disclose without apprehension, without anxiety, I think that could be important. I have a lot of clients, at least anecdotally, that will say, I don't want to disclose because I may be biased against, or they
Yeah.
may have the wrong, the wrong impression and whatnot. And a lot of people these days are willing to disclose. So but you have to kind of make it a welcoming thing, I think. And you could even do that in some of the marketing prior to. Maybe you do put that in the LinkedIn ad job posting.
Yeah.
So we have to figure that out. That's a great point, Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a story just happened last week of somebody I know who was their health insurance ended due to a career change. They went to get private health insurance through Obamacare, and they put on their application, it asked, do you have autism? And they selected yes, and they said, sorry, you're rejected, we can't take anybody with autism on our insurance policy. And they had, like, I guess that's a pre-existing condition. It was just such a frustrating experience for them and for me to have to hear that. And I don't know what answer there is, but I think that's the kind of attitude that could make people reluctant to put, autism on their resume if they're applying for a company, because they're afraid, well, that's an automatic, bin resume. So it's tough to achieve your goals if there's that kind of fear out in the marketplace.
Yeah. And I think one of the strategies that may be able to mitigate that a little bit is have the leadership of a company do almost UX, like user experience, and have someone on the spectrum. If they can, if they have someone they know, or they have a family member, or even know of an organization, and if they're willing to hire someone on the spectrum, follow that person through the process. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just, I'm just thinking out loud here, but we need some kind of innovative approach to this, because there's these obstacles, and
Yeah.
yeah, we got to follow people through the process all the way.
Yeah. And this isn't, it's going to sound like I'm plugging my own company, but I'm not. But that's the reason I named my company Autism Staffing Group, because I wanted to leave no doubt for companies who are coming to me, say they are committed to hiring on the spectrum, and everybody who's I have on my database is going to be autistic for you. If that's a goal of yours, we can do that. So that was the way I figured out of trying to
That
make it
works.
easier for companies. But
Yeah.
I think that we all just, anything that works we need to do, because it's certainly as a society, it's a goal I think we have.
Yeah, I call my company ClearWeave Careers. I guess we're a little bit less evident, but the reason I call it that is because we're weaving people into the workforce in a clear and seamless way. And so I'm using metaphor and what I studied in grad school for branding. I'm trying to employ some of that innovation just to see what works. I'm all about the iterative process.
Yeah.
See what works, modify if you need to,
Yeah.
and we just keep moving forward with different strategies, whatever works to help this population.
Yeah. Again, we have a growing number of people watching, so anybody that wants to post in the comments, let us know you're here, tell us where you're listening from, or if you have a question, put it in there for Ryan, and we'll talk to it. So thank you all for watching. Any HR questions, or people who don't have experience working with people with autism? Is there something HR should be concerned about? Are they going to act out? Are they going to be dangerous? Or are they going to disrupt other employees? Or do they have to come back to you for that help? Or can you talk a little bit about some practical
Yeah,
experience?
I mean, every individual is different. If you can ever get a history of the person, I think that's good. And I know that's tough. So if there's a third party entity working with that individual, if you could find that out and connect with that third party, whether it be a social worker or a staffing agency like myself,
Yeah.
that can really, get you light years ahead, and know if there are any red flags, but also you could point to strengths too, and find out where the person can really shine and show their potential.
Yeah.
I think it's in an engaging process with the employee, so not just the third party, but also a lot of interaction with that person can go a long way. I had someone, I forget what company, but the person asked me how to approach the client that was working for them with a very kind of small, minor question. I found it was a minor workplace question, and I said, "Did you approach him yourself?" And I found out that they had not, and it would just take a 5-minute conversation. And he said, "Wow, you know what? I could just ask that person," and the person had great intentions. It was not, and again, well, I don't know if we mentioned this, but you need to educate everyone in this area the best of your abilities. So, he went and he had the conversation. All was great. As far as getting back to the third party, we mediate a lot. So I don't mean anything. I don't mean to use a legal term there, but when I say mediate, I just mean we try our best. We get involved and work out any wrinkles that we have to, smooth out wrinkles, and we're able to just move forward. It's not as dramatic as one might think hiring someone on the spectrum. If there's some misunderstandings, I would
Yeah.
definitely look to some of our success stories, and you can find success stories on the web. Certainly, Thomas, I'm sure you have many success stories at your company where it's not as difficult as maybe some companies might think.
I agree. Yeah, again, we're getting a lot of people joining, listening in. I'm excited about that. So put
Great.
your comments in the chat, and we'll we'll address them. I did hear some stories, though, people on the spectrum that I'm talking to and working with that had the opportunity to work from home for the last few years because of COVID, and they really dreaded going back to the office because it's the noise, it's the lights, it's the team meetings, it's the slap on the shoulder, all the stuff that builds the camaraderie, and why a lot of us want to get back to the office are also the things that really stress out people on the introverts in general, or probably people with autism also. So we need to educate ourselves in general just to make it a diverse workplace. Has a lot of advantages, I believe in it, but also we need to build a environment that supports a diverse workplace, whether that's nursing moms areas or whatever the topic is. So autism should be in that list of check boxes where we want to make a diverse workforce successful.
Yeah, I think that one of the ways to help that issue is make the workplace, even the physical environment, one that is a little bit maybe lower sensory, less trafficked, more attention is paid to the respect for each individual. I'm not even talking about the larger respect. I mean, that is a definite given, but physical space respect. So they're not bombarded with, say, people talking non-work issues all the time, and being able to have another maybe, de-stress room is something that I'm a big advocate for in the workplace, and that could just be a room off to the side. You don't want to make it a closet or anything horrible, but there are ways to make even the workplace a little bit more, manageable. A little bit more welcoming. So if you're going to do hybrid or all person, there's ways to make it a little bit more palatable for people on the spectrum.
So we're just about out of time already, Ryan. It's gone really fast. But yeah. I did want to end with any advice you have for job seekers, their loved ones, anything else you want to share. This video will be posted, so I know there's still more people coming in. You can add your comments, but yeah, let's wrap it up with you, Ryan, with any final thoughts you have.
Yeah, I think software is a great tool to have. I would definitely advise people to look into upping their software game, so to speak. Video editing is a great field to get into. Learn Adobe Premiere, learn Avid if you can, learn a coding language if possible, or learn Photoshop if you're not a coder. Because software is so omnipresent across many different industries. It's only going to get more so that way. The Department of Labor has a statistic like 26% increase in programmers are going to be needed over the next 5 years, I believe it is. And so even with the layoffs in the tech sector, you're going to see a continued demand for people in the tech sector. Long term.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate your time. You bring all this wealth of experience, 10 years of helping coach, mentor, train, and place people on the spectrum in business. So hopefully a lot of people will see this, reach out to you and your company for themselves or for their loved ones who might be autistic or neurodivergent. So
thanks for having me, Thomas.
Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. It was a great
I appreciate this so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.